Here we are at the Iron Shield Collective podcast. I'm in the studio with Sal, and we're just going to have a little chat. So Sal, tell us a little bit about yourself and why did you really start to get into investing?
Yeah, well, nice to be here, Ben. And yeah, good question. It's something that I always had interest about, and I think as growing up. But I think, you know, back in the days, the environment I was in, I always sort of had some interest about the stock market, but really never had really any guidance or some understanding. So yeah, and then, you know, through the time, you know, becoming an apprentice. I was an apprentice mechanic, and you know, ended up doing a trade. And, you know, and then over the years went into the corporate world and started learning about sales and, you know, sort of eventuated into owning my own business. And I had a coffee company. So, yeah, so in the hospitality, and, you know, they talk about the markets being volatile. You know, just imagine the hospitality business. So I did 20 years of that. Yeah, 20 years. And, you know, I really enjoyed it, but I think the last few years of that that business and the environment and obviously the economic, yeah, things started, you know, more, obviously we had a lot more competition, people coming, you know, and coming into supplying coffee. So I could see the writing on the wall, Ben, and you know, I was sort of looking for some other alternatives, and especially time for money. You know, even though I ran the company and we had a business and a successful business, but it just got to a stage where it just felt like a job.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. Then I thought to myself, well, if, you know, after 20 years, what am I going to do? You know,
Sure.
and that was the hardest.
Yeah.
Hardest. So, so then, yeah, you know, I got to a decision where I was going to sell the company. Pretty much close that chapter.
Was that an easy decision to come to?
Yes and no. You know, it got to a stage because you work so hard and you put so many years, and you know, and look, the business, you know, the business got to us to a point, but I think, you know, I hit 50 too, so things started changing for me. You know, I lost my father back then, and I think, yeah, I just wanted to see what else is there that I can do, and there was a lot of options. You know, you got affiliate marketing. You know, there was a lot of things about drop shipping. So I was always looking for something that I can, you know, earn an income and predominantly do that on the internet. So I don't need to be, you know, I can move around, I can travel.
Yeah.
I know everybody's different, but for me, if I had to really that answer, is that I just wanted freedom, freedom to, yeah, do my own thing.
You mentioned your father before. What was your relationship with money growing up? Did your father teach you anything, or was this something?
Yeah, my Italian parents,
Yeah.
you know, just dad was always, and you know, they taught us to save for a rainy day.
Yep.
You know, you'd buy a pair of shoes and you couldn't tell them, hey, you know, these shoes cost 200 or 150. Even back then, you know, even $70, $80, they'll say, mate, you know. So, and I think, you know, I'm a spender. I'll earn and spend, and but they taught us how to be humble with money and save and you know, and put it away, and you know, to that extreme, yeah, I did do that. So I was pretty good with it.
Yeah.
But you know, as an apprentice mechanic back in the days, there's just, I wasn't earning a lot of money, and that was you know,
Those first years are tough.
Very
apprenticeships,
tough.
yeah.
Apprenticeships. So for me, you know, and I did, you know, the usual 2 to 3 jobs. I was working as a motor mechanic. Then I became a waiter, doing a side hustle. But it was all time. It's just, you know, the hours going there. You know, we're doing big hours at the, you know, doing functions. So, yeah. But overall, I always worked hard to make that money.
Yeah, right.
And that was the part. You know, work hard.
Did you ever imagine that you'd get involved in investing?
I invest in property, so we did do that. But you know, properties, you know, diversifying assets. So I've always liked to build a property to invest, obviously to build our financial, you know, but it's a long term, which, you know, I bought many years ago. So I'm in sort of good stead now. But yeah, it was always, the stock market was always there, but it was just, didn't understand it.
Were you nervous about getting involved in like the stock market? Was that what was holding you back?
I think, where do I find the information? Do I need a mentor? Which I'm a sort of a structured type of guy.
Yep.
I like to learn visually. And that was something that, I sort of decided to do once I sold the company. And obviously my wife was the first thing, what you got to do. And then I came across a mentor and just asked him a few questions, went and looked at what he was doing with I didn't know it was covered calls. I just heard the US stock market and how we invest our money and make our money work.
Yeah.
And that appealed to me. It really did, because I thought, well, you know what? I've done a lot of hard work, so maybe my money should be working now a little bit. So that's it, yeah.
Was that the moment you felt like you needed to change financially when you just...
Definitely. Yeah. And I think, once I had a look at the concept and then I signed up, I put my money where my mouth was and I said, you know what, I've got to back myself. I need to reschool. And that's a funny thing, people sometimes, if you've got to pay for a course or invest in, either reskilling themselves, and that was something that I had to do because, I learned how to be a motor mechanic, and then, in the corporate world, in sales, there was a lot of training on the job. They were sending out to, back then doing computer courses, learning Excel, Microsoft.
Yeah.
So that was in a way where it sort of comes to where I had to reskill myself and say, hey, I need to learn something. And once I saw it and understood it a little bit, I definitely started learning it and, got straight into it and started doing the education modules.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're never too old to reinvent and learn, are you?
That's it.
I think it's great. What were your biggest fears? Like when you started, you said you had a mentor, you approached a mentor.
Well, the mentor had an educational platform, which was great, and coaches, and still to this day is part of my life. And not just do I consider him just a mentor, but as a friend. But I got to learn, and I think there was always risk and feeling a bit, what's the market all about, and am I going to lose my money? And you hear stories. You talk to someone, and it's always the case where, I'm interested in doing the stock market, and then you get people that have never traded, or they know someone that lost money, or, I had someone that, lost his house in the stock market. And that sort of plays on the back of your mind saying, okay, these risks, what anxiety. But I had trust with the education platform. And I think I had the trust on the system.
Yeah.
And, and then once I decided, then it was up to me to put in the effort and learn it and understand it. And which I did. It was good.
Why that particular mentor and platform though? Because there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of noise online, a lot of probably bullshit advice, or a lot of two-bit advice. Like, why again? Sorry.
Yeah, look, I think the trust, first of all, in the system, and I think not that I was desperate, but I was wanting to change.
Yeah.
And, Ben, I get a lot of people, especially people my age, maybe a little bit younger, but they're worried about the world. They're not making ends meet. And I was also finding in that situation where, my wife and I are both, obviously on good incomes, but, time for money. So I, for me it was, just get straight into it, trust the system. And I think the first 3-4 months was very hard for me.
Did you make a lot of mistakes in that period?
Mistakes, but mistakes with, luckily we signed up on a virtual account, so it wasn't live.
Yeah.
Which, it's really important to learn on a, which is a paper trading account.
So like your training wheels before you take them off on your
you've
own.
got your training wheels, and, and you're going to make mistakes, but the education was really good where I could understand it, and it sort of gave me the confidence. So I think once I got to that stage, there was no stopping me really on, to learn this and do it well.
Was there an expensive lesson for you in that early stage, like after the training wheels came off, you're on your own? Was there something that really kind of made you almost give up?
Look, there were times, not so much give up, but it was just a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. I mean, I'm, sort of in my 7th, 8th year of trading the covered core strategy. And so I think it just got to a stage where, you know, I just had to keep on going. And yeah, we all have those days.
Absolutely.
There were times where I wouldn't go on the
Yeah.
education for maybe a week, but then I was looking at my situation and I thought, no, I've got to do this. And I think, I know it's a cliche, but the why, the why you're doing this, is it your family? Is it your kids? Do you want to go and buy a sports car if that's your thing? Do I need to just put a little bit more on the mortgage? Food bills, I like to take the family out to a restaurant. It's your why. And for me, I wanted the freedom, because even the business was like a job. You had staff there, you had to caress each other differently.
Yeah.
It just got to a stage where, I just needed to walk away from that. And it was my why to have that freedom to do what I want on my time, and that's it. Yeah. So I had to make it work. Definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you've come, how long's it been now since you really took that leap?
I think it was probably 2 years into the course.
Yeah.
I was, after 3 or 4 months, I went into a live account. So put some capital in there.
Yeah.
In my time, there was a COVID. So I think.
Good time to learn.
I think it was. And then, I just found, just got straight into it, went to live. And then probably about 1 year to 2 years, I started, compounding and started to really see how this is working. And, and it was nice to have every month, obviously some extra cash lying around where I earned through investing, but it was a small amount.
Yeah.
So, I started with maybe 20, 30K, but that 20, 30K got me to learn. So it was also an investment, not just in myself, but invest in that money to see how it grows, see how the system works.
What would you tell yourself now if you could travel back in time, back into those, before you kind of kicked it off? What kind of advice would you give yourself to,
Don't stop learning, and I should have done this a long time ago. Don't listen to people. Because sometimes you're listening to people, all right, they want to give you advice, but you've got to look at that person's situation, yeah? So if you're seeing someone that's, which I always get, I've always wanted to go into stocks. I always wanted to learn it, but I think once you sort of brought it up amongst friends, and then you're saying, well, hang on a minute, I'm taking advice of someone that's also struggling. Maybe I should take, and I didn't do that way back when I should have.
Yeah,
so
right.
That was my only regret. But there's no regrets me, actually doing it. And it was hard for me at that age, back then, I was, I said to myself, can I learn this? And the first time I opened the platform, which was a virtual account, and the first time, we downloaded everything and we signed up, and then when I opened that platform, I was just like, whoa, what's
overwhelming?
Oh, just numbers.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming, but I think, again, I had faith in myself, which was important to say, okay, well, it's not a secret. Everybody, a lot of people trade covered core strategy. They invest their money. And I, over the years, used to always hear people, investing and, making good coin,
So that was a period that you first heard about the covered core strategy?
Yeah, once I went to that seminar, and then, I'm expecting, you buy and sell.
Yeah.
Like we all do. You got to buy it cheap and, try and buy it cheap and then sell it for a profit. But it's amazing how many strategies there is into trading. There's scalp trading, there's swing trading, there's, what we do, covered core trading. We sell options and then, there's another option trading where you buy the cores. But there's so many strategies. And then you've got Forex and commodities, and it just goes on and on.
Well, what
But
attracted you to it?
I just love I didn't want to sit in front of a screen.
Okay.
I didn't want to be a full trader where, time difference and that wasn't my lifestyle. That's not what I was picturing. So to see the actual strategy and the covered call strategy, I loved it because we can do, you can analyze once you make that call and you pick your stock and you're going to be doing a covered call on it or the strategy. The great thing about it is that I can do the order way before the market's open, and then, because of our time difference, and then next day, if the order went through, I'll just do my figures and I know, hey, that's it. I've made my money. I know my percentage. And that really appealed to me. Whereas I've seen, again, a lot of noise out there. You see people, scalp trading. Scalp trading, you're going to be, when the market opens, you're glued to the screen, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours. I didn't want that. I wanted a lifestyle. And then what can I do for that lifestyle to fall into a trading strategy? And the covered call strategy was fantastic. Really perfect for what I wanted.
Did your confidence kind of change after that clicked for you, and you started to understand the strategy a bit better?
Definitely. And I think the environment, I started then, obviously, not just with the coaches and with the community itself, but the great thing about it is that I started getting exposed to other traders on different levels. There was traders that I'd meet which had a lot of years behind, a lot of capital. And then your intermediates, and then your beginners that are just starting. So the whole full circle is that, talking to them and asking questions, and you're always learning, and that's what I still till this day, I still learn and educate myself in that aspect of that strategy. And that confidence was definitely there after. I mean, not too overconfidence. The market can always, but risk management and certain part of the strategy made my confidence definitely a lot better from when I started.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What's changed most in your life, Sal?
Well, what's changed is that I don't need to be at a certain place, and let's call it, if you're at a job, there's a time where, if you've got to start at 7:30 or do you start at 9 and then 4 or 5 o'clock. I mean, every job's got a time factor where you need to clock on because you're in their time, and and getting that paycheck to paycheck. So for me, I love that I'm just got the freedom to do what I like, and that's the biggest. Traveling, I've been traveling a little bit more because obviously this, what I do, I can be anywhere around the world. So I just need an internet connection, and that was the biggest thing for me. I've worked from a very young age. So it was time for me to say, hey, you know what, there's a little bit more. What can I do to earn an income where I don't need to? And I don't need to say to a boss or, hey, I need some time off. And then I get told, well, you haven't got annual leave, and then you can't afford it. So that's changed a lot. And, taking my son to school, little things. Everybody's got their, why they want to get ahead in life, or, and for me, it was just having that extra, for me now, I do that full time. So for me, it was just having that, no stress about the financial, my financial situation.
So it's reduced your financial stress, you think?
It has, definitely. But, I'm still humble. I don't overspend. But you don't think about it as much because hey, I'm turning over enough to keep the family moving. If I want to go watch a movie, whereas before I used to think a little bit twice. I said, there's 2 of us or 3 of us. And by the time there's those little things that I don't think as much, but it's always small things. For me, it was just simplified things why I wanted to do this. I haven't got a Lamborghini, or go and get a house at St. Tropez, but I've got enough that I live on my terms.
So my next question was how was freedom, what does freedom mean to you today? And I think you just kind of answered that anyway. You have that availability of moving, around the world, or you're still being able to operate, but also spending time with your family.
Yeah, sometimes, my son will ask, what are you doing home? Or,
Yeah.
he knows what I'm doing. But I think it's just even taking him to school, I like doing that, even though, we sort of have that time in the morning. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Look, people think, oh, you've retired. Well, I haven't retired. I'm still working, but it's a different way of working. But, I'm doing the groceries, cleaning the house. Sometimes you got to, look after the landscape, cut the grass.
Absolutely.
I've got a car that I like washing once in a while and taking it out. I've got a classic that it's enabled me to, but again, it all falls back on your why. Why, and for some people, it's just enough to make, maybe one of their spouses stop work, or if someone's about to have a child, their first child, that's their why. Well, my wife's not going to be able to work. I want her to take care of, having a baby. I mean, for a mother, it's a big thing.
It's huge.
And then you've got the part of it to look after that child and its needs as a baby. So these are the little things where you say, hey, you know what, you don't need to work. I'm earning through, the strategy. I'm trading it, and I can make you income, and that's a big thing. So everybody's different. Everybody's going to, have a reason why they've got to do that. I have my reasons, and for me now, it got to a stage where, I've got the time to do those things, which I never used to.
That's fantastic.
You're spending 8-10 hours in an office or, and then you come home. By the time you come home and try to, it's hard. We all do it. I've done it for years.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is exhausting.
If someone like me, brand new, completely new into it, or like, where should I start?
Well, first of all, education. Reskill yourself. And I think, I come across a lot of people where you can see they're down and out. They don't like their jobs. They're upset. Whatever life's throwing them at the moment, things aren't really easy. Obviously, governments aren't helping, and what's happening around the world. So, I speak to a lot of people where you can see they're struggling, and if you can educate yourself and do the work and not be fearful on what the unknown is, do your education. Go on to, Iron Shield Collective. We've set up this great education platform. There's people involved with the Iron Shield Collective. They've got many, many years experience, and this is a platform that you can come in. It's free. Learn the free course, and then if it's something where you want to get off the fence, then there's a paid course there. That's when you put things into action. But start. Because if you're going to sit there moaning or, I'm not happy with this, and then, sometimes I think a lot of issues with families and couples are financial stress.
These days, it's quite tough out there, isn't it?
It is. So,
what habits help you succeed in your investing journey?
Those habits is stop a lot of noise around you and commit.
Yeah, sure.
This is something where if you can focus, do an education course, and look, you can go on YouTube and learn it. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff that's not good. A lot of people with, influencers and people maybe haven't done the hard yards, or they're just getting, a quick, this is not what it's all about. This is a 2 to 5 year strategy.
Okay.
So it's not, become overnight. You're going to be running. This is something you need to work on. It's blocks. But if you can commit and do the education and learn it, and stop all the noise and put the time, like, we've got now the FIFA Cup, right? Everybody's watching soccer. And then I get someone saying, hey, I haven't got the time. Well, you've got 8 to 10 hours a day. But if they're spending, 2 to 3 hours watching FIFA and soccer, well, that's great. But that time could be spent on learning, adapting the skills,
sure.
And, again, you've just got to do it.
Everyone seems to want to make a quick buck these days.
Yeah, easy money.
Yeah. How important is like patience in investing?
Yeah, good question. Emotions you need to really work on. Like I'm an emotional guy, you know, and
You're Italian.
yeah, I'm Italian. So, but I think a lot of Europeans. But you know, if you're an emotionally charged guy, that's
Yeah.
something you have to really work on.
Sure.
When I first started, especially when I had real capital, like real money in the market, you know, when you're on a paper trading account, you sort of not you get complacent, but you get a little bit, you know, so well, it's not real money. But when you got real money and real capital, yeah, definitely you need to, you know,
Okay.
yeah, really, yeah. So that's, so,
How could somebody reach you, or how could somebody? Like, what's the address for the Iron Shield Collective? Like, how can we check out what's going on with you
yeah,
guys?
look, they can have a look on our channel.
Yeah.
You'll see a link there, Iron Shield Collective. It's a free course. So people can.
That's great.
Yeah, normally, and we decide, look, this has been around, this education that we've never gone really public with. This has always been sort of in-house. But we decided to use the school platform because it was just a really good interactive platform that people can learn. And for us, it just got down to the stage where we thought, well, how can we help other people? You know, and a lot of people were asking, you know, well, you know, what can I do? And we thought, well, let's make something a little bit easy, and they can get into the free course. They can be part of the community. They can ask questions. They get a lot bang for the, you know, it's not going to cost them anything. It's just joining up. But yeah, just once they get on there, start learning about it, start understanding what the concept, the fundamentals of the strategy. You know, you'll get to find there's a lot of good value on that.
That's great.
And then once they get into that, they'll start learning. And then, yeah, they move on to the other course, which is the Covered Core Mastery course. And then that's pretty much, you know, the course where you actually interact and you actually start doing the trades. So we get you off the fence, Ben, and, you know, and then that's something where there'll be a lot of education and a lot of one-on-ones. And then you get to see the trades in real time and get to see actually how your money works. So, you know, and that's where it's all going to come down to is, you know, make those decisions. And if it's not, if trading will, you know, find something that, look, I love it, I enjoy it. But if it's something that, you know, maybe it isn't for you, but find something that you can do. And, you know, I spoke to a friend through another friend, and he's got, you know, I really looked up to this guy, and I found out he was doing 3 jobs and he's in his 60s. You know, a few things maybe didn't go right to plan, and some investments, obviously with property and, but yeah, 3 jobs, you know, at 60, and that scares me, you know, that really scared me when I heard that. And so, you know, I'm sincerely, when I talk to people, you want to help them. You know, we're all together in this. You know, the government's not going to help us, mate.
No,
you know, people
no,
think,
not.
you know, handouts, this and that, and the world's changing. It's not. You know, it's not like how we grew up.
It's really appealing to me to step outside the system that's really given to us and take control and really rein it in. And, you know, it is yours. You're not relying on, you're not making someone else rich. It's your own money. You're controlling in theory, what's going on.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're in charge of your destiny now.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, and then, you know, the good thing about it, it's, you know, the buck stops with you, mate. You know, and that's what happened. And when I first, you know, I worked for a little bit before I went full time after I sold the company.
So you're just kind of investing in the stock market,
I
but
was
also
learning, correct. But I was also working. I was working for a company that a friend owned, and he asked me to come across because after the coffee business, we weren't, you know, once you pay your debts and a few things that we had to obviously pay. You know, I had enough there to invest, but I didn't have enough there to live.
Yeah, sure.
So I needed to work and keep on pushing it. But I had hope because I was doing this on the side. So while I was working, I was still doing the education. I was still investing. But I think 2023 August was the biggest call. It's actually when I pretty much gave him my notice. I had the money that I made. Did a really great overseas trip with the family. My wife never been in Europe. We travelled a lot of other places, but Europe just, we just never. So it was fantastic. But when I got back, it was it. That's it. I said, and the first thing she said, well, because when she found out I resigned, she goes, oh, what are you doing? And I said, well, I've got to back myself up now. So I had enough in terms of education, confidence, everything to say, well, you know what, I'm leaving. And I think you get too complacent and too confident when you're getting that wage coming in.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So
Yes.
once that happened and I pretty much started trading full time, that's when the shackles felt like they came off.
Awesome.
And even when I was working for a friend, I still had to turn up. He's paying me a wage. But yeah, it was really exciting. It was nerve-wracking too. The first week, 2 weeks. Because I like, you like a schedule. You like sort of, things in place. You get up, you have breakfast or you have coffee, then you go to work, and then you work, you set out. And then in the afternoon, you come home, you do. So a lot of things were sort of that. But then, once I started trading and I started making the money, I'm thinking, oh, I've got some more freedom. I was going out for lunch, whereas before, my mates would go, oh, you want to quickly catch up for lunch? I couldn't do. Some of them, maybe work for themselves, but it was just hard to do those little things. If you're going to go for a drive for the day, or in summer, I love the beach, so I can afford now to go to the beach for a couple of days. So it was fantastic, and and then I got more confidence as time went on, and here we are. Time to have a chat, and these are the little things that I love. Passing on and trying to help people, and through this, this means, and having a chat with you today is really hopefully done that for some people out there, that are struggling or thinking about doing something different. You've got to just make the move. That's it.
That sounds wonderful, Sal. Like, where do I sign up?
Yeah, just click on the link. Click on the
Get me
link. Get in there, have a look at it, join the free group, and learn it. That's it. I think all of us can be reskilled, and what the next 5-10 years is going to be again changing. You've got the world of we always hear it, but the technology is really moving at a fast pace.
Yeah.
And I think you've just got to make those changes in your life, which is important. If it's important for you, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't.
Before we leave today, Sal, I'm just going to check the laptop really quickly here. We're just going to do some quick fire questions to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, sure.
This is really, just one word answers.
Oh,
just
okay,
off
one
the
of
cuff.
those. Yeah.
All right,
cool.
All right.
Yeah, talk to me.
So, favourite stock?
At the moment, the favourite stock would have to be Palantir.
Ooh, interesting. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Biggest investing lesson?
Patience. Patience.
And that's wise.
To be patient with investing.
Yeah. Best book you've read?
It's funny actually you say that. It's been a while, but actually it was a autobiography of I think it was Mark Donaldson, which was an SAS soldier, and read about his life growing up as a kid, and joining the SAS. And I love those, and I know it's not a one answer, but I love reading those books because it's really based here, mental,
Absolutely.
the mental side of it, not the physicality. There's a lot of other attributes, but it's all in the the mind, and great
that's
read.
something missing these
definitely.
days.
Especially what these guys go through and give us the freedom to go and do
Props
what a
to
lot
them.
of us wouldn't do. But
Absolutely.
he was the last book, but it's been a long.
Nice.
And another one I read, but I won't mention it because it's something maybe anti-government. But
Yeah, we love that stuff. Love it.
But no, I'll leave that one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time maybe.
Yeah.
Long-term investor or trader?
Long-term investor. I don't want to add to that, and that's what we are. I'm not really classed as a trader.
Okay.
People say, oh, what do you do for a living? And sometimes it's very hard to, actually, what am I? But I'm a long-term investor, and I just invest in the stock market. So long-term.
Beautiful. What motivates you every day?
Waking up in the morning is the first good start. But I'm enjoying life a lot more since doing this. So
Life's for living. So
yeah, you know, and I'm going overseas again,
Wonderful.
which, you know, and I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I just enjoy that. I've got that, you know, and I've said it again, I know, but the freedom, just the freedom to do what I want on that day. You know, it's not scheduled. It's good.
love it.
Yeah.
One word that describes success.
Success, one word. I think in a way, be humble, listen, learn, and just do the right thing by people. You know, it's not that hard. Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Be you know, be courtesy. I mean, if we had that, I think it'd be a better place.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think
Bit of kindness.
a little bit of kindness it always goes a long way. But yeah, that's the success that I see.
You may have answered this one already, but one word that describes freedom to you.
To live life on my terms, mate.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. Just doing my own thing and not, you know, running a slavery system that we've been taught, you know. And if you look back on a lot of things as we were growing up, you know, I'm a 70s or 80s guy, you know, grew up in that era. But, you know, I think we've been taught a lot of things, which, you know, my family taught me, you know, great things in terms of, you know, growing up and, you know, work hard, get married. But that doesn't work, not as much in terms of the financial side of it. So I think for me, it's just, learning something that's new, that's giving me that. And that freedom is living on my terms, doing what I want, when I want. And that's, for me, is priceless, Ben. It's absolutely priceless, man. I love it. You know, it's really good. And a lot of people see me sometimes, oh, you look relaxed. You know, when I had the business, the company, man, I was aging. You know, all the stress that came with it. Look, don't get me wrong, I've got a bit of stress here and there. You're not always going to walk, but that financial stress, you know, that, you know, what do I see myself in the next, 5 years, 6 years, you know, and for me, that's important because, you know, there's certain things I want to do. And a lot of it takes money to do it.
Yeah.
So to have that, okay, well, I'm working on that. And then, you know, definitely in that long run, it's that freedom.
That weight of financial stress, if you have a family and children, it's huge.
Definitely.
It's debilitating sometimes, and that stress that comes and the health issues that come with that. So
it does. I think they say stress plays a big part, especially on our bodies. You know, but you know, if you could take and just improve. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, "Hey, you're going to be doing the covered course, mate." It's not all about that. All it's about is working towards something.
Yeah.
So if you can start now and say, hey, I've got to come up with a plan, right? Yeah, I love my job. There's people that love their jobs. But you've got to find a plan because there's going to be one day when, for me, was to get to that age in my 50s was saying, hey, I need to do something here because I can't see, you know, who knows what's going to happen to me if I get sick, or you're not going to feel well, or something, you know, a tragedy, I don't know. But work on something with a little bit of hope. And I've got friends that are doing this now. They've
Great.
come on board, and, you know, I can see in their face, they're happy, they're just, oh, you know, it's awesome. And to see that happiness from them, generally, it's like, well, mate, keep on going.
They're winning.
Keep on winning, keep on riding that bike. You know, don't give up, don't do anything stupid. But, you know, because sometimes you can get a bit greedy and that sort of, you know, we're dealing with money and all of a sudden emotions, as I was talking about before. But if they can learn the structure, control all that, learn the education with risk management, trading, doing the covered course strategy, and then later on, you'll see their demeanor, you see their body language. They've changed. They've got hope. And that's what I'm saying. Just learn something. If it's not that, learn something else.
Yeah.
You know, or if
advice.
it is in your job, do an education or dual course to maybe get you that promotion. That's all we're saying here. But at the end of the day, if you want time with your family, hey, you need to look at doing something different because, you know, the paycheck doesn't work anymore. You know, what are you going to save? You know, Netflix. Okay, let's take Netflix off. Oh, well, I don't have to have KO. Okay, take KO off.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Well, I'm not going to go to the gym anymore. All right. So you've cut a few things out, and then you're cutting.
Yeah.
Where you should be saying, well, hang on a minute. Instead of me saving, because we've got our set costs, our bills. You know, you've got your rates. If you're on a mortgage, you've got your rent, you've got your car rego, you've got your fuel. I can go on and on. But at the end of the day, find something that you can say, okay, well, hey, you know what? I've got the money for that, and I can cover those things. You know what I mean? And then you don't get too hard struck.
Having dreams without goals within that dream, they just remain dreams.
And that's what it
There's no
is, man.
process or learning there, then they just remain dreams. So,
And the people use that loosely, and they say, oh, it's a cliche, but it's not.
no. Yeah.
You know, I had dreams, and there was a lot of dreams that I couldn't fulfill. Is that financially? Was that starting a young family young? I don't know. But this is no secret, Ben. There's people like banks and institutions are
Yes.
using this strategy.
Playing the system.
They're
That's a good
playing the
thing.
system, mate. And no one told me about this system.
Yeah.
It only took me to, you know, let's say pull the finger out and say, hey, I've got to do something different. My traditional working for someone or having a company or business, like you imagine someone spending 12, 14 hours a day in a cafe, you know, and at the end of the day, by the time they pay the rent, pay their staff, products,
Yeah.
the costing of everything, and they basically walk out with no reward whatsoever.
Yeah.
How demeaning is that?
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of that in my industry. You know, I was there. You know, there were times where I used to look at the sales and go, is that all we've done? You know, they didn't even cover us opening the doors.
Yeah, wow.
So I'm not sitting here, you know, but I made that change, you know, because I had to. Because there's no way, like even working for my mate, I had to follow, you know, just didn't want to do it. So, you know, if you can get to, you know, to that part in your life, yeah, pull your finger out and get it done and learn it, get good at it. It's like a sniper, you know. A sniper only worries about one thing in the, you know, if you're in a army or, you know, the defense force, if you're a sniper, that's all you got to do is just shoot one thing as a sniper. That's what you got to become in this. And if you become that, yeah, the rewards are massive, massive. It's good.
Amazing, Sal. Well, thanks for the knowledge.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For the
It's
chat.
been great. Yeah, definitely.
And check out Iron Shield Collective.
Yeah,
Get on board.
Yeah, get on the link if you want to, you know, or you know, click on the link, free course, and we'll see you on the inside.
You see Sal's face there.
Yeah, you will definitely.